It's a big show because I'm in front of the camera this time, but it's also a big show because we got Genesis Smith on the show today. We're going to get him on the other side of this intro. Don't go anywhere. It's the AZ Wildcats podcast in 30 seconds.
Welcome into the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Damon Fairall. Sitting next to my guy, Kevin Thomas this time. He's not behind the Mac. What's with that? I'll tell you exactly what's with that. We are thrilled to be joined by Arizona safety Genesis Smith. And Kevin, you toot your own horn a little bit at the beginning portion of that. But really the reason that you're sitting here is because we got to talk to Genesis. Bro.
Yeah, I had to get healthy so I can get here and talk to my guy, Genesis Smith. I had to get right, had to take all my vitamins, drink all my water, sweat it all out, break the fever, get back in this beautiful studio and talk to our guy, Genesis Smith. Damon, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and bring Genesis on and get to talking to him a little bit. Genesis, how we living today on a Friday morning?
Feeling good, man. Just got done with lifts. Ready for this interview, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we are also thrilled to have you here. I guess we'll start off with just how last season kind of went. Obviously, it wasn't the season that I'm sure that you guys envisioned, given, the large majority of returners coming back and whatnot. But just from a personal experience, I was at the Houston game, for example, and that game really pops in my head. I felt like the defense maintained a really, really good energy level. Despite, tons of injuries, not going exactly the way you guys planned on it. So I guess just kind of walk me through how you guys maintain that energy level and what was keeping, the guys playing hard, despite, a pretty lackluster season.
Yeah, no, just not being discouraged by the wins or losses, just taking it one day at a time and just loving ball. At the end of the day, that's what we came here to do. Came here to be a student athlete. And this is a fun job to have. So every day just getting to attack the work, not being discouraged about the record, but just happy to be here. You feel me? So that kind of
was there a specific like reason for that? Like did Coach Aquina have you guys just like juiced up, ready to go? Because I remember turnovers forced, sacks, like everybody was going crazy, and it wasn't. I would say like the energy level, maybe even in the stadium at that game wasn't very crazy at all. So it just felt like you guys were kind of playing on a little bit of a different playing for each other and whatnot, more so than what was going on. Is that true?
Yeah, I'd say that's the case. Regardless if the crowd isn't there or the game's not going our way, just having the love for the game, you're gonna enjoy yourself out there making plays, just how you were when you were little. So I feel like that's just what always keeps us going.
Yeah, and Damon kind of brought this up about not getting discouraged towards the results of last season. I wanted to ask you about your mindset and your attitude during those losses last year. How were you able to maintain your energy, maintain your production, despite the overall, maybe not getting the results that you want, despite your output? How were you able to stay locked in last season?
Yeah, for sure. Everybody wants to win at the end of the day. So just controlling what I can control, doing my 111th, and hopefully the man next to me can do his 111th, and that just will give us the best result possible. So just controlling what I control and just doing my job.
I like that. I like the idea of being just one of 11 guys. Is that something that coach at Arizona brought to you, the one of 11th? I haven't heard that exact phrase before, but I have obviously not been in as many locker rooms as you have. Like, who first installed that in your mind, and where'd that kind of come from?
Kind of just hearing it over time. Like Bill Belichick used to say it all the time, just doing your job, do your 111. I think that's where I got it from.
That's really cool. I also wanted to ask you, we talk about last year's lackluster season, but I also want to spin it forward to next season, because winners and beginners is what we were told by Coach Gonzalez. That is what makes this upcoming season so exciting for us. But what excites you about next season, and what can fans expect to be different on day one of football season next year?
Yeah, I would say just the mindset shift in the locker room. A lot of guys just coming in ready to work. That's definitely like motivating for me at the end of the day. Seeing other people that want to go out there, want to win, really just motivated to do so, and it's showing in their work. The way we approach workouts every day, the way we're more disciplined and everything is just is really showing. So hopefully it shows up on game day.
Yeah. So I mean, I think you're obviously a guy that projects to probably play on Sundays at the next level. Is that something that is in the back of your head? How do you kind of prepare for that? While also focusing on college football as well.
Yeah, for sure. Just not getting too big headed, taking every day one day at a time. Just enjoying where I'm at, being where my feet are. Because college goes by so quick. I can worry about tomorrow. You feel me? So just staying in the moment, enjoying my time with my brothers here, and just enjoying the moment.
Do you have like any NFL players, safeties in particular, anything that you model your game after, people that you look up to?
Yeah, there's a few people watch. Growing up, I like watching Minka Fitzpatrick a lot. That was one player I like because my dad he loved the Steelers. So Minka Fitzpatrick, he was huge, and then Kyle Hamilton as of recently, I like how he plays. He plays really physical.
And you kind of spoke to the idea that you've been around a lot of these guys in the locker room, and there's your brothers, and you've been around them for a long time. One of the topics that me and Damon want to get into is the family aspect of things. How did the locker room stay together last season, and going into this season, how is that strengthened, or has it strengthened? And what's the brotherhood like after a season like last season?
Yeah, last season was hard for sure. Just taking L's. Everybody in the locker room wants to win. So I feel like we did a good job not turning on each other. But definitely brought in a lot more new pieces for us to be able to win. We lost a lot of critical pieces, but just focus on what we got now and just going up from here.
Genesis, you play the star position, which is a little bit different than a safety. I know everybody considers you a safety, but can you kind of walk us through what the difference is there in Arizona's defensive system, and just kind of why that is different than being a starting safety on this defense?
Yeah, the star position is it's a lot like corner in a way, but it's a mix between corner and free safety or safety, as you say. But you could be out there on the island one play, man on man, or you could be in the box the next play like boundary safety. So it's really just having best of both worlds in your bag, just being versatile. Yeah, that's kind of what the star is, just a little bit of everything.
I heard you mention on a past interview that you did that you used to play cornerback when you were first kind of starting off at Hamilton. Is that something that has kind of prepped you for playing this star position a little bit better than maybe some a safety that has a lot more experience playing primarily just over the top rather than getting more down in the box and playing in that slot?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely say so. Just getting those man on man reps, you can't train it any other way. Getting man on man reps and just get on the island. It's different out there. So once you're out there and then you come into the nickel position, it's a little bit different having to get in the box sometimes and then come play man the very next play. So I think it definitely prepped me to get better at my man on man coverage.
I want to stick there with Hamilton High School just because, I think obviously you got Tay Brown, you got Grayson Stovall, now you got Trey Spivey as well, who I know you're close with. So there's some, Husky influence going on in this Arizona football program. Does that make you happy? Like, I know that it must, right? Like, I know that you're a guy who's very well connected to your roots. You clearly care about, like, representing where you come from, playing at the University of Arizona and whatnot. So how exciting is it for you to get to play with some of your old high school teammates? And then conversely, I want adding on to that, there's a lot of Chandler guys on this team too. So how has it been, matching up against the dudes that, you were on the other side of the rivalry picket fence with, not that long ago?
Yeah, no, those all my guys. Chandler or not. The beef is behind us, but it's only on game day that's when we get a little bigger and backer. But no, yeah, I love being in the locker room with all my boys, Trey, Grayson, Tay, and even the Chandler dudes. So it's just good to get that AZ pipeline to the Wildcats, and I'm glad we continue to do it. We got Dejon Hinton too. He just got up here.
Yep. I actually went to high school with Dejan's older brother DJ, so it's a little bit of an interesting connection.
Did you go
there.
to high school with Bijan Robinson
I did.
too?
I did in fact go to high school with Bijan Robinson. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people, especially
I never talk about it.
Never talks about it. But no, I wanted to ask you about Trey Spivey a little bit more. With him entering the portal and then ending up here at Arizona. What, did you, I'm sure you contacted him about it, but were you a part of that decision process for him? And how excited were you when you learned that he was going to commit to Arizona?
Oh yeah, no, I was super excited when I learned he was coming here. When he told me he was going to come here, I was excited like crazy. Couldn't even fathom the fact that we would both be at the same school. It was a dream come true, honestly. Because out of high school, I wanted him to come to U of A with me, but he ended up going to K-State. So that was he had to go do his own thing. But I'm glad he's able to come back now. And yeah, I'm just happy to be able to line up with him.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to stick there with just kind of the transfer portal aspect of things. Trey obviously came to Arizona from Kansas State after entering the portal. You entered the portal as well, but decided to make your way back to Tucson. Without getting too much, into the weeds of it, what was kind of your thought process when it comes to entering the portal, withdrawing from the portal, and kind of finishing what you started here at U of A?
Yeah, no, for sure. It was definitely a crazy time throughout the portal. A lot of phone calls, but at the end of the day, I'm glad I came back. To be honest with you, it was a lot. Went and took a visit, and ultimately, that's what made me realize that I wanted to be at U of A. Right after the visit, I went to Washington. There was a lot of people I knew, a lot of familiarity. So I was thinking that would be the spot if anywhere. But after going up there, I was like, yeah, no, U of A. I don't know. I just got some sort of tie to U of A. Like my family's close to home. It's something I couldn't give up, So that's ultimately why I came back.
Was that family aspect in having, your family close to you, being able to come to every game, was that like a massive factor in that decision?
Yeah, it was huge. It was huge in the decision. My family was just down here yesterday, actually, so I spent a lot of time with them. A lot of my values come from them, so they're definitely huge in why I came back.
And something that Damon and I have been talking about a lot this offseason in general is it feels like a couple years back it was a lot about family, and then it kind of went away from that, I think, from a publicity standpoint. And it seems like with Brent Brennan taking over the helm, it seems like a lot more of bringing back people with Arizona ties, right? At least with the staff. You bring back a Joe Salavea, you keep a Dwayne Aquina and a Danny Gonzalez on campus as well. But one question I wanted to ask you was, is that extending into the locker room? You're playing with a lot more players that you went to high school with, that you have experience with, whether it's on, rivalries or not, right? Is that familiarity kind of helping bring the locker room together after such a rough season last season, or are we reading too much into it?
No, I'd say so. Being around a lot of people that you grew up playing with, I feel like it definitely helps. The chemistry is a lot easier to get it. And just knowing what they could do, know what you could do, you start clicking better. And I think it's really cool to see a lot of familiar faces.
Genesis, we got any weekend plans? What are we doing this weekend? Anything fun?
This weekend,
The weekend starts with Valentine's Day, Genesis.
It does.
I don't got a Valentine. I'm locked in right now.
We still got time.
Oh yeah. Wait, is it Valentine's Day? Oh yeah, it is Valentine's Day today.
He definitely got a Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
we're noon. Yeah. We're past noon on Valentine's, and he's asking, "Is it Valentine's Day?"
There's a lot of time left in the day.
The morning start early. I can't process sometimes, but weekend play. I don't know. I'm just taking it day by day. Probably gonna be chilling, playing video games.
What's your game of choice?
I play Marvel Rivals. That's my.
Okay.
Be on that. Yeah. So.
You got a favorite character in Marvel Rivals or what?
Oh yeah, I use Iron Man. That's my main.
Okay.
That plays.
It does.
Erica in the chat here says that he says he's locked in right now. Hey, we love to see it, man.
We do.
Focus on the season.
Yeah,
we don't want to force you into some Valentine's Day, stuff that you don't need to be locked in on. We want to keep you locked in on the gridiron. We appreciate that. But before we let you go, because we don't have all day with you, Genesis, I wanted to ask you. You have a foundation. And I wanted to kind of give you some runway to talk about that foundation, let people know about it. So what is your foundation and what's the mission behind your foundation?
Yeah, my foundation is a nonprofit, giving back to less fortunate people or just people in in need, times that I've seen before and I've needed to help myself. So just trying to give back. It started from my grandma. She had her nonprofit when she was here. She passed, and it kind of influenced myself to start my own. And since then, we started the Christmas Cats initiative. I did this past Christmas, and we helped 12 families, got them a whole Christmas. It was great to see everybody's reaction. And I want to plan on doing that every year, 12 families at minimum. I want to keep going more and more families out here in Arizona and eventually expand out of Arizona. But, yeah, that was the first initiative. I want to start doing football camps in the future, stuff like that, yeah.
Where can people donate and kind of help support?
Oh yeah, you can go on my Instagram. There's in my bio, my Instagram, Genesis Smith FDN. You could click on that Instagram in the bio. You could donate pretty easily.
Awesome, man. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time on this Friday morning, Friday afternoon, and speaking with us about last season, going into next season, and just kind of where you're at personally. And we hope to talk to you again.
Thank you. I hope to talk to y'all too. Appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you, man. That was Arizona safety Genesis Smith. Kevin, I know that's your personal favorite player.
It is. Yeah, he is my favorite player on the team. I felt like that would have been a sour place to start it, just because, we're doing an interview. I don't want, need people feeling Kevin's
back there going,
yeah. Kevin's fangirling out a little bit.
But no, I'm kidding. Just because Genesis Smith, is my favorite player doesn't mean that, that I'm biased towards nothing. That was a great interview. Great dude. Happy he's staying with the Arizona Wildcats. And I think it's what stood out to me most, Damon. I'm sure we'll get into more of our takeaways on the other half of the break, right? But what got to me most was the family vibe that we've kind of been reading into is real. And it's not just with the staff. And it seems like something that's really being purposefully implemented into the team with guys you feel familiar going to war with, right? And guys you trust next to you in the foxhole, so to speak. So I think that really stood out to me. Obviously, he is a good guy with the foundation and everything, helping out 12 families for Christmas. That was awesome, very noble. I'm sure those families are beyond thankful for him and his contribution to their holidays. So yeah, we appreciate Genesis Smith for hopping on the show today.
But not every holiday, Kevin, because that man is way too locked in for Valentine's Day.
He's busy playing Marvel Rivals. He's doing his own thing. He's not worried about no Valentine. No, forget that.
I'll tell you what, now,
got a Big 12 title to win.
I'm sitting here thinking, what's Arizona's over/under win total? if everybody on the team's got that mentality, we're all just sitting at home playing video games. It's not about Valentine's Day. It's about how we can rebound after last season.
That's
Kevin.
why Damon is so locked in.
It is.
That's why he's always on the grind.
That's totally why I'm single. Because I just want to, crush content.
Solo cam.
Yeah, solo cam me, please. I just want to crush content and put my all into this. Anything that distracts me is just no, thank you.
Whoa, I'll take the pressure off my guy Damon here for a second and put it back on Genesis. I'll say one thing: if I'm sure there are maybe I shouldn't say that. I'm sure there's a girl out there that was watching this interview thinking, "Damn, you know what I mean? Damn, I knew I came second to football this whole time, but I didn't know I came third to Marvel Rivals.
Yes,
you know what I mean? So yeah, shout out to Genesis Smith. I kid. But yeah, that was a really fun interview. We appreciate him for hopping on. I honestly wish we had another 5-10 minutes to chop it up with him, but we're thankful for the time we can
get him
with
back.
Exactly.
We'll get him back.
Exactly.
We got more Genesis Smith interview fallout, kind of our final thoughts on that, and Houston basketball preview. We're going to talk about that right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Well, Damon, one thing that I'm excited to go home and possibly partake in is some HelloFresh. Our friends over at HelloFresh, they deliver hand-prepared meals right to your door. They actually used to only do sending you the freshest ingredients to your door with clear instructions on how to make delicious, healthy meals right there at home in less than 30 minutes pretty much. But now they also have their ready-made meals, which you can pop HelloFresh's ready-made meals right from the fridge to your fork in just 3 minutes. It's the same high-quality ingredients and restaurant-worthy flavors you expect from HelloFresh, just with none of the work. And I only used, when I first used HelloFresh, I only experienced the, they send you the ingredients, you cook the ingredients, you eat the ingredients. And it was a beautifully seamless process. It kind of taught me the habit of cooking for myself. And now with these ready-made meals, you don't even need to have it. You just got to go home and pop it in the microwave and you have a healthy meal right there for yourself. So make sure to get 10 free meals and a high protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/Wildcats10FM. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's up to 10 free meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/Wildcats10FM using America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh.
Kevin's a big cook. And if he's recommending HelloFresh, I think that holds a little bit of weight.
Look, it's Valentine's Day. People are busy. If you like if you are like Genesis Smith and you forgot about it, you know what I mean? Just get you a HelloFresh ready-made meal, pop it in there, you're good to go.
Sounds good. Also, make sure you guys head on over to the Phoenix Raceway for the upcoming NASCAR event that's going on there from March 7th through 9th. We went last year. It was a great time, did some content out there. Just good vibes, Kevin. That's going to be the best time of year from a weather standpoint. It's going to be beautiful out at the Estrella Mountains out there. 200 miles per hour, guys driving in a 1 mile oval. You can't beat that. Big time drivers, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Bubba Wallace, and 2024 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Joey Logano. I call him Joey Slogano. I'm not a Slogano guy, but it's all good. That's just what it's going to be electric out there at the Phoenix Raceway. Make sure you guys grab your tickets if you can. Get your tickets now at phoenixraceway.com.
I didn't know you knew track like that.
For sure.
I didn't know you knew wheel.
I didn't know you knew fault like that, bro.
That's who I am. I'd say that's just, that's in my DNA. I like to go fast,
I didn't know you knew ASP like that.
I don't even know what that means.
I didn't get that one.
Asphalt.
Oh.
I like it. It plays.
It does.
Yeah.
I liked fault better. You know fault, bro?
No. See, I don't know nothing about racing, so all these things are going right over my head.
Bro, I'm talking.
This dude's from Missouri.
I'm talking about.
I'm from St. Louis.
You don't know. You don't need to know nothing about a NASCAR.
St. Louis is not Missouri. My mom can tell you in the chat. St. Louis is not Missouri.
You're gonna claim Illinois or what?
No, but I'm saying like if you go to St. Louis and then you step 2 miles outside of St. Louis, you realize when you're in Missouri. I promise.
I understand that, but I know it's like kind of on the border there. But I'm saying like, people in Missouri gotta love NASCAR, bro.
People in Missouri do. People in St. Louis got other things to do. You know what I mean?
Not the target audience as much.
Not the target audience as much. That's all I'm saying. And on that note, let's talk some Houston basketball because I'm excited for tomorrow, Damon. In fact, one might say I'm ecstatic that we're going to have a nice post game tomorrow on a noon tip-off. How about that?
Yeah.
We're way closer to noon. We're way closer to midnight than we are noon usually.
Yeah, I do love the noon tip-off, especially on the weekends, because it gives you your rest of your Saturday to go. You know what I mean? But this one is a little bit of a different circumstance, right? Because I feel like it could either kind of springboard the whole weekend or just ruin it, right? Depending on the results. So it will be interesting to find out. But yeah, we're gonna get this game over with. Probably have post game sometime around 2:00, 2:15. So make sure you guys tune in for that. But yeah, we'll be going live 15 minutes after the game. But yeah, Kevin, you mentioned it, just like excited as hell. How could you not be? Man. This is the biggest game of the entire season thus far.
And we talk about in the Big 12 how there are so many games that just feel like late tournament games.
Mm-hmm.
Put another one on the list. This is Final Four quality game. Excuse me. With two teams that could literally be, by the end of the year, national title contenders, right? Houston's already in all the analytical darlings. If you want to look at the graphs, they're always at the national title contender this season.
Yep.
Arizona's on that fringe of like, they might be a Final Four contender, but their ceiling might be Elite Eight. We don't know analytically yet. Damon and I, we've been talking about it all season. We think that Arizona can compete for a national title at their ceiling.
Well, just ask our friends about 365. Right now, Houston's has the fourth shortest odds.
There you go.
In the title.
Really?
Where's Arizona at?
Yeah. Arizona is, I think, somewhere around the 13 range.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Let's see. 4, 12, exactly 13.
Wow. Good eye, Shane.
Yeah.
I give you some credit for that. Good eye.
He's him.
Yeah. In the What Chaos shirt, by the way. Check out What Chaos. But yeah, no, I wanna bring up the fact that you and I, Damon, we talked about Arizona's tough schedule this season. Houston is kind of, they're in a similar spot, but not the same spot, right? They're 44th, according to KenPom, in overall strength of schedule. Meanwhile, Arizona is much higher than that. I believe they're 12th in strength of schedule. We can pull up those numbers as well, Shane, if you want to here. The Houston Cougars, 2024 stats via KenPom, 20-4 record, 12-1 in conference, 124.9 offensive rating, good for 6th in the nation. Defensive rating of 90.4, good for 4th in the nation. tempo, sheesh. The fifth slowest team.
It's Kelvin Sampson ball, baby.
No, I know.
It's the best.
I know. It's great.
The best.
It is great. It is great. But it is slow.
The best. It's the best when it's your team. It's the best because Houston has been the best team in the country over the last half decade. But it's certainly not the best to like play against.
Yeah.
It's
no,
awful.
yeah. Also, when you're, and me and Damon are going to get into this in a second, but when your team is predicated on, getting out in transition, playing fast, making the other team make mistakes, when the other team, their whole thing is, no, let's slow it down. Let's not make any mistakes. And let's just make this a 5-possession ball game total.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a tough matchup when you're Arizona, right? And this is kind of where I think Arizona's bread needs to be buttered in this matchup, Damon. I think they have to find some success in the half court, right? Because they talked about it last night on McHale Madness. Houston is a team that their goal is to slow you down because they know their offense is so efficient. Their defense is so efficient that just mathematically, right, they're going to outperform you. And if they don't give you enough possessions to outscore them, you can't win. And I know Damon's going to make fun of me by saying #analysis, right? But it's real, right? Houston's whole game plan is we're going to slow you down, and there's no way that you can make enough shots to outscore us because we're so efficient, right? And so how do you fix that though? My point, like I say all that, but say how do you fix that? You fix that by finding success in the half court, by getting Awaka going, by getting Vasar going, giving them things to actually think about on defense. If you we talked about this pre-show as well. If Arizona goes out there and plays to Houston's pace and lets Houston dictate the speed at which this game is being played, Arizona's as good as cooked. They're as good as lost in this one, right?
Yeah.
But if they can find a way to speed Houston up, to make them make mistakes, and then get out in transition and capitalize on those mistakes, Arizona will win the basketball game. I'm confident in saying that, right? Because Arizona's defense is championship quality. Houston's defense is also championship quality. And I feel like those two things will go head to head and maybe not cancel each other out, but I think they're similar enough, Damon, to where the offense is going to decide this game, right? I don't think this is a game where you're looking at Arizona saying, well, if they can just clamp up Houston, they're going to win. But I don't think it comes down to defense. I think it comes down to Arizona's half-court offense, which has been struggling pretty much all season.
I think there you have it. That was the Houston analysis. Kevin just hit on basically everything, I think, in that little monologue there. I also don't really appreciate that you're like stealing my flow and not letting me just like throw in a #analysis. You're trying to get out in front of it. I think that's kind of BS. But yeah, I mean, I think to your point about the half-court offense, part of that, I think, and I agreed, Arizona is definitely going to have to play better half-court offense than what we've seen in the last game, what we've seen in, decent amount of games this season where it just hasn't been good enough, frankly. But I'll kind of play off that, but go in a different sense. I think Arizona needs to force missed shots on Houston because Houston has an extremely efficient offense. They're 6th in the country here in offensive net rating. But I think that the best form of trying to get out in transition and get out on the run is when you're forcing missed shots and forcing turnovers, right? So I think that obviously Houston has been one of the more efficient teams in the country from an offensive standpoint. Arizona needs to force those missed shots, force those turnovers so that they're not relying entirely on their half-court offense so that they can still kind of play it half and half a little bit with their transition. You're not fully going to play Houston on the break. That's unrealistic, but you got to get some transition fast break points or else this one is probably not going to be, go in the favor of Arizona, in my opinion.
Yeah, and when you talk about, players that can help with all this, Damon, I think of Caleb Love. And yes. I know that sounds silly because Caleb Love is the guy that we always think of when Arizona is looking for how can we identify one guy that can be the X factor in this game. Yeah. It always feels like it's Caleb Love because you never know which Caleb Love you're getting from game in, game out in the 2024-2025 basketball season, right? But I said it on Twitter, I think yesterday, in the middle of my cold medicine tweet, brigade that I was letting off. I let out the medicine spoke to me and told me Caleb Love's stat line for tomorrow. And I said it was going to be 20 plus points. I said it was going to be 4 plus assists. And I said it was going to be 5 plus rebounds with 3 plus threes made. And you might be like 3 plus threes made. That feels awfully specific. And let me tell you why, right? So in all of Houston's losses this year, their opponents have shot pretty decently, right? Now you're looking at Auburn in their first loss. This is way back when now, but they only shot 30%. fine. Alabama, they didn't shoot great, but they did shoot 36%, almost 37% from the three. So, and then you go to their loss. We're not going to talk about San Diego State because respectfully, like these are different levels of ball we're playing here, but Texas Tech shot 40% from three against Houston, right? So I'm not saying that, I'm definitely not, hey, Caleb Love, if you're watching this, I'm not saying go out there and unleash tens of threes in the first half, right? But what I am saying is, to Damon's point, when you do think you have a look, take the look from three. Because one way to beat Houston is to give their defense things to worry about. And if they're worried about Caleb Love hitting the outside shot, that's a wonderful thing for KJ Lewis. That's a wonderful thing for Tobe Awaka. And one thing I identified last game for Arizona that they couldn't go to a lot because they were playing from behind, but that high-low game, when Vassar and Awaka are both in the game, do we know if Trey Townsend's playing tomorrow? Has that been announced yet or not?
I don't think so.
Damon's going to fact check me on that and see if we have. As of last time I checked, we don't know if Trey Townsend is still going through concussion.
He is playing as of 27 minutes ago, according to the Arizona Daily Star.
Breaking news. Trey Townsend is playing. So
he just feels like the worst person to put on the court against Houston.
He does.
Oh my god.
Well, no, Delhi does.
Well, how many? No,
yeah.
Delhi does. It's not about size, or it's not about. It's about the holding.
They're going to eat him
ball,
alive. Yeah.
And who's behind you?
Yeah, that's
the
a good
entire
point.
team.
That's a good point. But I feel like if they cut Townsend's minutes, whether it be for conditioning or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I look forward to that high-low game with Vassar and Awaka and vice versa. I think it went really well for the couple possessions they went to it last game against K-State. They just couldn't go to it because they needed more from their offense in that moment. But I think that getting Caleb Love, my point was, getting Caleb Love shots that he feels comfortable hitting and does hit will open it up for everybody else. And I think that that's going to be the key tomorrow, is it cannot be another game where Caleb Love goes ghost offensively. He can do all this stuff on defense, but if he doesn't contribute on offense tomorrow night specifically, Arizona might be in some trouble, Damon. I don't know if you feel the same way about that.
I do. I actually did a preview with my guy Parker Ainsworth over at Locked On Cougs. Go check that out on my Twitter account. But he asked me specifically, who do you look at on Arizona's team that you think needs to have a good game tomorrow in order for Arizona to pull this one out? And, I guess you mentioned it. It's like not the hottest of takes in the world, but Caleb Love needs to, because Houston is going to contest shots. We know all about Houston's defense. That's how their brand of basketball is. That's how Kelvin Sampson wants to play. And who's the contested shot maker on this team?
Caleb Love
is. So you need Caleb Love to hit some of the shots that he's been missing all season long, or else I'm afraid that this one's probably going to be cooked, because I don't think that Arizona has enough good contested shot makers outside of Caleb Love to be able to win this basketball game. You mentioned the big men, though, Kevin, and I kind of want to go into that a little bit, because I think that's another big matchup X factor in this ball game. Houston is a smaller team. They don't have a ton of size. I believe that their starting center is 6'8". And yeah,
Tugler,
when Tobe Awaka is out there, he will be tied for tallest person on the court. When Henry Vassar's out there, he'll be head and shoulders the tallest person on the court. And Arizona needs to take advantage of that from a rebounding perspective and just from like a post-game perspective. You have the size, take advantage of it. I think that, and we've talked about this a lot, but Henry Vassar, I think this is a real litmus test for him, because you've never seen him play up against, I think, this physical of a front court. But that being said, he's also got a height advantage on these guys. Can he continue to clean up around the rim like he's done so well all season long? Can he, continue with the putback dunks, with the screen and rolls and lob catching lobs, like
the Henry Hammers?
Yeah, he's been doing it all season long, right? Can he do it against Houston when he has that size advantage, except, with the added caveat of they're a little bit more of a physical team than maybe he's used to playing against.
When's the last time Houston had like a 6'11" plus center?
They don't.
Hakeem?
I've never like, seriously, I can't remember the last time Sampson had a.
He doesn't. Need him, I guess. When I was talking with Parker on just kind of previewing this game, we mentioned two players on Arizona that remind him, and he brought both of these guys up to me first. And even though me and you have had these discussions, Kevin said KJ Lewis clearly looks like he was born to play for Houston. Just like I brought up our thing too about how Houston basketball players just they got a special look about them. They all look like they're like 7-year NBA veterans.
They all wear their shorts high as well. That's a big part of the look.
I didn't even notice that.
I haven't noticed that either, but they literally look like grizzled NBA veterans. Every single player on the team, they're 22 years old. It's
Jamal
insane.
Shed, like he's still there.
And doesn't
Emmanuel
KJ
Sharp?
Lewis fit in with that
Or not
group?
Jamal Shed, LJ Cryer.
LJ Cryer, yeah.
Jamal Shed finally got out of eligibility last year.
He's a Raptor now,
Don't
right?
you agree with that though, Shane? That KJ Lewis looks like he just fits in with that Houston group.
He's gonna stay there after the game.
Yeah. He's from Texas. Also lived in Tucson for a little bit, but
Yeah.
Texas to Tucson. Yeah, I mean, I think, and then the other guy was Toby Awaka because he's a 6'8", center type, physical, rebounder, defender, not really like a, what you'd consider like an offensive, center, an offensive front court player. But he does provide that aspect, and he's been getting better as the season has gone on. But I think that those two guys fit this game perfectly. And that's exactly what, I don't know. I don't know if that's in a positive way, like for Arizona, or if that'll be interesting to watch play out. But I think that if you took those two guys and put them on Houston, they would fit in seamlessly. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up against Houston.
Guys, I don't have the time to keep deep diving, but I'm on 2013-2014 roster, and there's still not a player above 6'10".
See, I'm glad you're doing that because I was
crazy.
gonna either do that after the show or like kind of as I had time during the show to figure that out. But I'm glad this is why we have Shane, wonderful Shane.
Since the CUSA days, they've just been 6'10" and out.
Damn.
Kirk Van Slyke, never heard of him. I haven't, but he was 6'10" on the 2011-2012 Houston Cougars.
It's my buddy.
Look at him. Good for him.
Like literally,
Me and Kirk got a beer the other night.
Their logo changed when I'm going back. Their logo changed, and they still don't have a 6'11" guy. They got Navy in their logo.
Maybe it genuinely was Hakeem. Maybe he was so special that the whole program genuinely as a whole, like, forget retiring a number. We're gonna retire his height. No one's allowed to be taller than Hakeem Olajuwon on this team.
6'11" Marcus Cousin, 2008-2009.
Wow. They do have a 6'11" guy on this roster, but I don't think he plays.
They're not getting a ton of guys
Jacob
in the league.
McFarland is 6'11" on this year's roster, but he's a redshirt freshman. I don't think he plays a lot.
They're not getting a lot of guys in the league.
Houston?
Yeah.
Can we fact check that?
What?
Isn't that kind of interesting?
No, Quentin Grimes, Marcus
Yeah, I was like, I feel
Sasser,
like they
Jamal
have
Shed.
I feel like they have a pretty good history of NBA
What's
guys.
Jamal Shed doing in the NBA?
He tore up his knee last year.
Yeah, I think he's Raptors G League right now, I think. Or no, I think he's yeah.
Arizona State has G League guys.
Marcus Sasser is not a G League guy.
I don't know what we're
Quentin
doing.
Grimes is not a G League guy.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing.
Bench
here.
players.
No, they're. I mean, they come off the bench. Marcus Sasser drops 20 points.
We're talking about
Come on, son.
No, you guys are flaming me. We're talking
We're
about
not flaming you.
the
You're flaming
last-
them. No, I was saying you're flaming Houston basketball. You're trying to ignite some fire.
Is it flaming to say, hey, they don't have a lot of NBA guys? That's surprising, given how good of a basketball program. That's a roast, in your opinion?
It's not a roast. You're just wrong.
Not wrong.
In the last 5 years,
What's your scope? What scope are you using? Because I'm scoping from like a top 10 basketball program in the country, not Arizona State standards. This isn't Josh Christopher ball.
You want to talk about sending players to the league, buddy? last 10 years, what are you bringing to the table?
I don't know. Benedict Matherin's really good.
Last 10 years, how about a number 1 overall pick?
Yeah, Aiden was out. I mean, take him or leave him, but DeAndre Ayton was a number 1 overall pick. Benedict Matherin.
What are we talking
Benedict
about?
Matherin
If
is
you're,
really good.
If you're comparing against
TJ McConnell's gonna have like a freaking 25-year career.
I know, but if you're comparing,
so many players in the NBA.
Listen. What I'm saying is, if you're comparing against Houston, you're on the same level as Houston in the past 10 years.
We're not. We're genuine. It's genuinely not even close.
I agree about the
number of players that are playing.
They have 4 current players in the league. Arizona has.
I got you. Arizona has 12.
12.
Not only
Three times.
Not only
as
do
much.
they have 12, but the players are a lot more impactful. DeAndre Ayton, Aaron Gordon, where we
Said
at?
10 years.
Lauri
I said
Markkanen,
10 years, buddy.
Benedict Matherin.
10 years.
What do you mean?
So all of those
10
players
years.
are within 10 years.
Aaron Gordon's not.
But
He's
still-
2014, 2015.
He's still playing.
Okay, he's just outside of 10 years.
He's a champion.
Yeah, he is. No, Aaron Gordon's great.
Lauri Markkanen.
This conversation.
We're not, though.
The goalpost is being pushed because Arizona has 10-year NBA
for the
veterans.
record,
That's a
for the
negative
record,
thing, apparently.
Everyone shut up. This conversation is mute. We should move on to your actual preview, which I derailed, and I apologize because I was looking for 6'10" players.
No, you're right. But no, in conclusion, real quick, Houston has a great history of NBA players. Their current what's the word?
I would say it's the opposite. I say they don't really in the past 20 have.
Well, no, they have Hall of Famers. Like I'm saying, like they have like really good players from Houston.
Yeah,
but I think their current group of guys in the NBA is not as impactful as maybe like we think of them in college as being. And I think
that's what my
the comparison
point was.
between Arizona's current class and Houston's current class is insane. But
it's crazy that I got attacked for you just saying the exact same thing that I said in the first place.
No, I'm talking about you said recently, and I said, okay, let me look. And in the last 5 years is my litmus test.
Don't forget to drink water, everybody.
And you have two guys that are playing 20 plus minutes a game, averaging 15 plus points. Like that's my litmus test. You said the last 5 years, and you said you couldn't think of anybody, and so I brought up two. That was my only point.
I just think that 4 players in the NBA when you've been a top 5 team for half a decade is kind of a low number.
See, if you would have said that, I would have said sure.
I got cut off before I even had a chance to explain.
No, you didn't.
Welcome to the PHNX HQ offices, people, ladies and gentlemen.
This is a classic Shane Damon conversation. Classic.
It is.
Vintage.
It is. Before we get back into our preview of this Houston Cougars matchup, I want to talk a little bit about our good friends with our sponsors. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. One thing about this podcast is sometimes it gets a little bit contentious. And one way to cool down, one way to calm down, have a nice little happy, healthy hour is with our friends over at Cornbread Hemp.
Love it.
Our friends over at Cornbread Hemp. I like people who make history, right? And Cornbread Hemp is America's first ever USDA organic THC gummy. They don't use any harmful ingredients, and that's not usual. Most companies that make these hemp products use synthetic ingredients, not cornbread. They are farm bill compliant for legal adults over 21 only. And your healthy happy hour, a natural, healthier way to experience a carefree moment, starts with our friends over at Cornbread THC Gummies. It's a nice little balanced sense of happiness and relaxation. And Damon, I know I've been getting more into the edible scene. I've been getting more into the little gummy scene as well. And I can't speak highly enough of our people over at Cornbread Hemp. Like I said, if you're looking for a healthier way to enjoy a carefree moment, you have to give Cornbread Hemp a try. They've created the first ever USDA organic THC gummy that's 100% legal, not 99%, 100% legal. As a special offer for PHNX listeners, you get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX and use promo code PHNX at checkout. Again, that's cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX and use code PHNX for 30% off your first order. Cheers to a healthier happy hour.
Kevin, I went on a run this morning, wasn't smelling so good afterwards. And then I put
That's
on
that sweat equity.
Yeah, and then I put on my Mando deodorant, and all of a sudden I'm feeling a lot better. They got crazy scents over there. How about bourbon leather? Does that float your boat a little bit?
Yeah.
Of course, they got the starter pack. We'll give you $5 off with our promo code of PHNX. And yeah, I love our friends over at Mando. They got all types of products. They got the all over deodorant. It's not just for your underarms. It's for all over that body, Kevin. Whether that's your balls, your butt crack, your belly button, your pits, your grundle, Kevin. I said grundle. That's right. It's for everywhere. It's for all over, like it says. Check out our friends over at Mando. Good Valentine's Day present. Smell better. Some nice fragrances.
Yes.
Mando starter pack, perfect for new customers. Comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code PHNX, shopmando.com. Shopmando.com. That's please support our show. Tell them that we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. I always love Johnny Venerable. Whenever he has a Mando ad, he always goes, "Hey Mando," like that, and it like ruins my life every single time that it happens. I don't
love you, JV. Got nothing else for that one. Love you, JV. No, I as we get back into our Houston preview, Damon, I think I wanted to kind of give out my keys for the game real quick. And I'll let you get to yours if you have some as well.
I already gave one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Multiple keys on a keychain sometimes. You know what I mean? But my thing, like I said, limit turnovers. I think if Houston is so efficient at what they already do, you cannot give them more chances to secure that victory. If you turn the ball over, pretty much forfeiting a point, whether it's not this possession, but the next possession at some point.
Yeah.
You're giving the other team more possessions and more points per possession. That's just basketball 101. And especially the way Arizona's been playing, we've seen if Arizona can keep control of the basketball, it was all over the place against K-State. You lose by 3 points to a team you shouldn't have lost to in the first place. There were 2 reasons why you lost that game. Poor shot making and turning the ball over way too damn much.
Yeah.
So I think if Arizona can make open shots and not turn the ball over, they're going to give themselves a much better chance to win this game. You spoke to the physicality.
Can I speak on that?
Of course.
Am I allowed to talk about your keys, or are you just gonna?
Dude, go ahead.
Okay,
It's a free country.
I'm not just kidding.
Free podcast. At least.
Yeah, I think that's I mean, it's 100% the truth. You look at Houston, that giving them the extra possessions is what's gonna. I think the extra possessions are gonna be key, right?
Yes.
From an offensive rebounding perspective, with Arizona being a taller team, to as I mentioned with like Vesar and Toby Awaka, to turning the ball over. Arizona has had a turnover problem. I would say a lot of portions this year. They get lackadaisical with the ball, especially late in games. They start being lazy and not focusing on making just routine passes, really. Like you even see it from Jaden Bradley, who's, kind of I feel like the emotional leader of this team, kind of just, sets the tone for this team game in and game out. And even he against Kansas State had 5 turnovers, was pretty lazy with it. So I think, you gotta have a focus on taking care of the basketball. No doubt. I agree with that completely.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a good point about how the extra possessions are going to matter in this game, because specifically in the context of turnovers, right? If Arizona, let's flip it, right? If Arizona is able to turn Houston over, that is what Arizona thrives in, right? And not only that, because we know that Arizona is good in transition and is good when turning teams over. It's Houston is not used to that. So if Arizona is somehow able to implement their style of play, despite Houston trying to do otherwise, I think Houston's a team that's not used to playing another team's style of basketball, right? And I think that kind of leads into my next key, which is
they dictate the pace in every game that they play. That's why they're the 360th team in the country in pace.
Yes. And one of the vehicles for doing that is physicality. Yeah. Right? And I think something that really stood out to me about Tommy Lloyd's post-game press conference, I'm getting better about not saying post-fight, the post-game press conference was he spoke to K-State's physicality, and I'm not putting words in his mouth. This is Kevin Thomas paraphrasing a quote from Tommy Lloyd, not Tommy Lloyd, but he pretty much said they got punked. Like he said, like, hey, K-State was too physical, and we didn't know that was going to, well, they knew, but we didn't, properly adjust to the physicality as the game was going, and they weren't secure on the ball. They weren't handsy enough on defense, and K-State's intensity really was a problem for Arizona in that game. And if K-State is giving you problems physically, Houston's really going to give you some room to understand where you need to improve physically, right? Because Houston is a much tougher team on that aspect than K-State, in my opinion.
I mean, physically imposing people like Coleman Hawkins, you can't.
I mean, the Beanstalk himself.
To be fair, he is like a 6'10" college power forward, which is fairly good size, but he's not like the biggest guy in the entire world. But I think Kansas State's a very physical team. You don't?
I didn't say that, but I'm saying,
at least just from watching in one game, I can't say that I've watched a ton of Kansas State ball this entire season, but the one game sample size that I did see, that was one of the more physical teams we've played this season. But to your point, Houston is probably the most physical team in the entire country.
And that was more so my point, right? Is that K-State, yes, they're physical, but going into that game, you and I think if someone had asked us, like if a K-State reporter had called us and asked us, like, who do you think is going to be more physical in this game? We both would have said Arizona, based on the brand of play that Arizona had become accustomed to winning with this season, right? The physical defensive style of play that's able to turn teams over and force high tempo transition play, right? But if you get punked by K-State physicality wise, Houston's going to do you way worse. Because like you said, they are one of the most physical teams in the country. So if K-State's here physicality wise, Houston's turned all the way up to 10. And so I hope Arizona is prepared. And I know that Arizona can physically match up with these teams, but if K-State surprised you, there's no excuse for getting punked by Houston. So I expect a very physical game on both ends that I hope Arizona gets the better of, at least physicality wise.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. I think I know I say it for Henry Vesar because I think that's just a guy that I'm specifically highlighting, but it will be a real litmus test for the entire team, how they deal with that physicality And, playing a tournament caliber team like Houston, a team that you might match up against, not that they would, because it's, Big 12 teams, typically they keep it where you avoid them, but it could be a team that you match up against late in a tournament run. So, or at least a team that is going to play, they're going to prepare you for those moments. So yeah, absolutely. I think that, that physicality aspect is going to be huge. You got any more keys?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of, my 3rd and 3A key kind of go into each other a little bit, but it's free throws, right? 2 for 22 last game from 3, unacceptable. We've talked about that ad nauseum. But my thing was the shots weren't falling. Why was Arizona not trying to? And you spoke to this beautifully on the postgame show. Why were they not trying to get to the basket? Right? K-State did a good job of swarming the paint, but that does not mean you cannot go into the paint with reckless abandon and try to draw a foul.
Yeah.
Right? If the shots aren't falling, what's the difference between a missed contested 3 and a missed contested layup that you're trying to draw contact on? To me, no difference. Right?
You might get the foul.
You might get the foul, right? And so I think, what leads me into that is Caleb Love needs to return from the Little Apple with a ton of aggression. Like, I want to see Caleb Love not recklessly, but really aggressively going downhill. I want to see Caleb Love forcing his way downhill into the basket, trying to get free throws, trying to get his shot going before it's halfway through the first half and he doesn't have a point yet.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it on the postgame show. 0 free throw attempts from Caleb Love against Kansas State. That's pretty unacceptable, especially if you're 0 for 7 from 3. It's not working on the outside. So get to the paint.
Yeah.
Try to force some contact and get to the free throw line just to see it go through the net a little bit. Yeah, that can't happen going into this game against Houston.
Can I give a key?
Huh?
Can I give a key?
Yeah,
sure.
I'd love your key.
Vesar's distribution.
Ooh, speak on it. Talk about it.
This team is going to double the crap out of them. They're going to need to. Like, if they're going to slow down the pace of the game. If you want to play that type of ball, I'm sure Arizona's going to have a plan to get in a couple actions where you can get Vesar alone. And it doesn't matter who on the roster is defending him. That's 6'11" redshirt freshman, whatever you're talking about. He's not going to see the floor, I bet.
I don't even think let me check, but continue.
Regardless, that's not. How tall is Vesar? 7'1"?
Probably 7 foot, but he looks taller than that. Out
and according to KenPom, that freshman literally does not play.
Exactly. So the tallest guy you're going to have is 6'8". You have to send a double. And I'm not saying every time, but most of the time they're going to send a double. So it's on Arizona shooters and Vesar to find them. And that's going to be a huge part of it because it doesn't matter how much Houston slows you down. If that's working, I mean that's a huge key to success.
Couple 4 assist games for Henry Vesar this year.
Let's see a 5.
Yeah, I think that could be a huge factor for sure. But conversely with that, or not conversely, but in accordance to, you got to hit the shots when you find the shooters.
Yeah, that was my second part of it.
And against Kansas State, Arizona couldn't hit the ocean off of a boat. So it was I think you got to find a way to shoot at least 35% from 3, somewhere in that range. But yeah, I think if Arizona can find some open shots through the big men's passing ability, that would be pretty big.
Who's your Spanish kid?
Conrad.
Let's get him in.
We need a big 3.
Let's get him in.
Who's your Spanish kid?
Biggest 3 of his life at the bank, dude.
He did.
Biggest 3 of his life. Let's hit a bigger one.
I mean,
Conrad.
I think he played about 3 seconds in the K-State game.
One.
He did.
And then they went right at him, and Tommy Lloyd said, "Nope."
Yeah, let's get him out.
Back to the bench, Conrad.
Doug McDaniel scored like 6 points.
Okay, I don't want to dig too deep into it because it's not that big of a deal. But I do. It's like a nice little food for thought question, right? Of like, ADO comes out against K-State.
Yeah.
Obviously gets hunted on defense. That's the MO for every team that plays ADO,
so
right?
Are you digging deep into Doug right now?
No, I'm actually no. Yeah, no, definitely not that.
Digging Doug.
I dig Doug McDaniel. He's probably a cool dude. But no, I think ADO comes out and scores like Arizona's first 6 points or something. He starts very well offensively. I think he only played 15 minutes, right? And I'm sure that's again because he gets hunted every single possession. They do dribble handoffs until they get to him, and then they can hunt him there. But if you're not scoring, right? Isn't there more than 15 minutes in the game for ADO if you can get a possession for Conrad Martinez to enter the game? Like, my point is, if Conrad Martinez enters the game at any point, the ADO is not already in there. Why is it not ADO? So I'm curious to see how Tommy Lloyd plays ADO in this game, and if he plays them sparingly, I would rather not see Conrad Martinez. With all due respect to Conrad Martinez, I just feel like they kind of offer similar weaknesses in a way without similar offensive pros. And so I feel as though if you're playing Martinez, why not just play ADO? And maybe someone in the
Well,
comments can illuminate me on that, but
I don't think I wouldn't really compare them to. I understand what you're saying from a defensive standpoint, but
that's my point.
what
I'm not
they bring
really-
to the table on offense is very, very different. Not Conrad can hit an open shot, but he's mostly there to facilitate and run the offense, right? Like I remember Tommy saying at one point that like essentially when Conrad Martinez is out on the floor, the way in which this coaching staff is going to see that his minutes as a success is whether Arizona is scoring or not. And it's not really about him scoring in particular, but it's about, you know, the ball moving around, how the pick and roll looks and that kind of stuff. So I think ADO, you need him to hit shots, right? Like that's kind of where his offensive output comes into play. But Conrad's a little bit more of a facilitator. You just want to see like the offensive rating at a level that is, you know, efficient.
I'm with you. And I don't necessarily disagree on that, to be honest with you. I just think that we're using two different equations to get to the same result, right?
Yeah.
Because you said Tommy Lloyd's barrier for success for Conrad minutes is how Arizona's scoring offensively. That's the same barrier for my ADO minutes, right? Is
True.
how is Arizona scoring offensively?
Yeah, just in different
with
ways.
ADO as a vehicle for the scoring, right? But I think, and that was kind of my greater point, right? So I agree with you that while their skills might be different offensively and the way that they find success offensively is different, I think the result is the same. And so if you're playing a team like Houston, if ADO is playing, and you know, if you're thinking about putting in Conrad, I think you should just put in ADO.
Do you think ADO misses the camel on his chest sometimes?
How could you
Who
not?
wouldn't?
It's the most elite mascot
It
probably
is.
in college sports.
It is.
Shane really asking the questions that matter today. Who's your Spanish guy? When's the last time Houston had a 7-footer? And do you think ADO misses the camel?
On his
I
chest.
love it. I love it.
Conrad Martinez, you mentioned that he got into the game against Kansas State. Like it literally must have been 3 seconds because they didn't even register that he played.
I genuinely think he played a possession. I think he played
0 minutes played, and it's like, no, I watched him play out there on the court, so it must have just been such a short stint. They were like, we can't even give him a minute.
It must have been under 30 seconds because they probably would have rounded up.
Yeah,
That's a great point. It was probably like half a shot clock here, half a shot clock there, back to the bench. But yeah, no, back to the general matchups of things. I kind of want to keep talking about KJ Lewis a little bit. KJ Lewis obviously fighting through, I'm assuming still fighting through that right wrist situation. And we don't
Are we
really-
just kind of assuming that's going to be the vibe the entire rest of the way?
No idea. I mean,
I feel like that's not going to get healthier unless you sit him down.
do we know exactly what it is though? Because that would answer that question exactly, right? Like if it's just, and we're not trying to like diagnose, but I'm saying if it's just a sprain or something, that will pass with time, and you don't really need to like sit it. You know what I mean? But if it is like something more severe that he can play through still, then you're right. It probably won't be healthy the rest of the year, and he probably will have to take some time with that in the offseason or something. But my point with that was that KJ Lewis wise, what do we expect from KJ Lewis in this matchup? For me, I expect elite defense. And then on the offensive side of it, I expect him to help out with facilitation, right? And kind of maybe contribute like 8 to 10 points scoring wise. Like I don't need a lot from KJ Lewis offensively in this one if he's going to be, you know, locking up Emmanuel Sharp, helping on Cryer, helping on Tugler, helping on Roberts. Like he's going to be doing and being asked to do so much defensively in this matchup, I think.
Yeah.
Especially because of the size. Like you can't, like against K-State, for example, just because it's our last game or their last game, they did have a lot of taller players, not a lot, but they had some taller players on that roster that KJ did a great job in the post defense against. But I think if you're Tommy Lloyd, you're probably more comfortable with a true center on that guy, like a Coleman Hawkins or something, than a KJ Lewis, right? But against Houston, you can make the argument he guard 1 through 5 against Houston, right? So what do you expect from KJ Lewis in this matchup, and what are you looking for from him?
Yeah, I think my barometer for success for KJ in this one is probably I think forcing more turnovers than he gives up, because we've seen KJ be a little bit, I don't want to say careless with the basketball, but it clearly isn't his strong suit when it comes to, you know, being on the court. Like he's the type of guy where he, you know, his handle and his, I don't want to say his passing ability, but it definitely his handle is not the strong suit of his game, right? So Houston is going to look to take advantage of that. I'm sure that was part of their scout. Hey, this guy's a little bit more careless or reckless with the basketball in his hands. Let's really try to force the issue when he's there with it in his hands. So yeah, I mean, I think that's my barometer for success. Can KJ steal the basketball more times than he turns it over, or, you know, not just steals, but also, you know, other ways of forcing turnovers. I need to see him be a net positive in that aspect, because this is going to be such a crazy game and kind of a gross game, probably, is my guess.
I bet the practices in the past week have just been, you don't even hear the ball dribble. Like,
Ooh.
I'd love for KJ to just be working on this the entire time.
No, I'm saying the opposite.
That was crazy.
I'm saying you like, I would assume Tommy's game plan is probably don't do anything by yourself. Like against Houston, you don't want to be ISO dribbling. You don't want KJ Lewis dribbling the ball in half court. That just doesn't really make sense. Like,
we're trapped in a corner.
Yeah. I bet the ball is gonna be swinging a lot to start, and if it's not, there's a problem.
Let the dribbles be, give those to Jaden Bradley and Caleb Love. Let those guys be the ball handlers for this game, and pretty much everybody else shouldn't be doing that. You good over here?
Oh yeah, no, I coughed.
But I've never seen someone cough and have like a hot ones style sweat off.
It's not
afterwards.
sweat; it's a tear up. I think I'm just getting emotional because of the intensity of this game. Damon, you ever seen that Drake video? It's been a long fight, and hey. You know what else has been a long? It's been a long show. And if you are with our streaming partners over at, any of our beautiful streaming partners, head over to gophnx.com and wrap up the rest of this preview for Houston with us over there. And hopefully, I'm not sobbing by the end of the show. But, I think, in all honesty, Damon, I think you're right about KJ Lewis. And I want to get back into the dribbling conversation in a second. But I think you're right about KJ Lewis that and I think I really appreciate you specifying between the ball handling and the facilitation.
I think he's a good passer.
Because his passing has been awesome this season. Like, he's been one of the most underrated assist guys. I don't want to say in the conference because I think that would defeat my whole point, because I think I'm underrating other players by doing that. But he's been, for sure, Arizona's most underrated passer this entire season. And when you talk about dribbles, there's that old joke about, why is that guy taking more than one dribble? Like, why, you'll get at the center and he starts dribbling the ball and you're like, why is he dribbling the ball? Pass it to your guard. Go find a guard. What are you doing? And I think it's going to be one of those games where if Vassar has it at the top of the key, he does more than 2 dribbles before dribbling handoff, I'm going to be worried. And that's no disrespect to Henry Vassar, but like Shane said, if that ball's not moving, Houston's going to make it move. And that's not what you want. You want to, like we said earlier, dictate the way the game is played. Shane?
I played some pretty high-level basketball up until I was a junior in high school, and I didn't really play much. But
Mark Andrews.
Never forget.
Obviously joking, but I was one of my biggest flaws is I was horrible at handling pressure. Just horrible. I mean, clunky 6'4" white boy, like duh. I would my biggest nightmare on a basketball court is playing a team like Houston. Getting trapped in I genuinely would wake up in cold sweats. Like if I had a nightmare about getting trapped in a corner and like a guy like LJ Cryer or Jamal Sheddar just hands up, yelling, screaming, hostile environment. And I think Tommy has a plan to combat that. And to what you just said, you should have that plan. You should the ball should be swinging. It doesn't matter who it is. Like I know you said, give those dribbles to Jaden Bradley, give those dribbles to Caleb Love. It doesn't matter. Like I know that Caleb Love loves to go into ISO and get his own shot, which he's great at. But you might need less of that this game.
Yeah, I agree.
But also, if the shots fall, let him do whatever he wants.
I think we were talking about it before, and I think you need him to hit some of those shots, because if he's not going to do that, I don't see really a path to victory, to be honest. Because you're not going to, in the half court offense, as Kevin's talking about, like you're not going to get easy shots in half court versus Houston. You're not going to get backdoor cuts for or alley oops or things like that. It's gonna be hard earned buckets
unless Tommy Lloyd's cooked up something truly special.
But you can get easier shots than going 1-on-1 against the Houston defense, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
With you. I think this kind of leads me into one of the conversations that makes me think of that me and Damon have been having all year about Tommy Lloyd's in-game adjustments. I think this could be a game that we really see where his level is at with the in-game adjustments, because this is a coach that he has some scars up against, Kelvin Sampson, right? That 72-60 loss ringing in his head, I'm sure
I'll
all
never
week,
forget it.
Right? I'm sure Tommy's not going to play it up too much, but he's competitive, right? So in the back of his head, I'm sure he's thinking like, I would love to get him back. I would love to, it's 6-6 in the all-time series. He would love to make it 7-6 Arizona's favor at home in Tucson, right? I think
I got asked about that when I did my Houston preview.
Yeah.
Do you still remember that tournament game? And I was like, I'll never forget.
Do I still remember?
I'll never forget that. 5 minutes into the game's over. Houston already has control of it. Arizona's not coming back, and we were the number 2 team in the country all year that year. Number 2 overall seed in the tournament. had what seemed to be a pretty decent pathway outside of Houston to making the Final Four. But I remember when that bracket got seeded saying to myself, is that the best number 5 seed in the history of college basketball? They had 5 losses and they were a 5 seed.
I think I picked them to win that year. Like in my bracket.
They made the Final Four. It was a good pick, man.
Been a good pick for all years recently.
It has. I've picked them, I think, every year since then because I've just been like, they've scarred me too much.
It's Bruce Pearl's year, boys.
I'm gonna pick Houston again this year.
No, it's Bruce Pearl's year.
I am.
They got
Janai
like,
Bohm is
they got like
really
four
good.
They got like 4 25-year-olds on that team.
Yeah, he's really good.
It's insane.
Yeah. But I think you kind of queued it up perfect, right? Like the last time these two teams played, in the first 5 minutes, you knew who was going to win the game, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where I was going with this, of like, if Tommy Lloyd has truly, and I'm not saying it's black or white, if he loses and doesn't adjust, it's over and blah, blah, blah. But I think this is a great litmus test. We're using that word a lot. And I did look it up to see what it meant
3
earlier.
times.
Yeah. It's actually a test for acidity. But we use it so much in the common like vernacular that it's just been made like a decisive test.
You think
for
you're
something.
blowing some people's minds out there?
No, but I didn't know what it meant. Like I knew what it meant like contextually. Anyway,
Word origins with Kevin Thomas.
Yeah, no
New segment.
But no, I think this is an example of Tommy Lloyd being able to show his growth as a coach, right? Because in the first 5 minutes, this game is gonna look a certain way, right? And if Arizona is not the one dictating the pace in the first 5 minutes, how can Tommy Lloyd adjust and overcome whatever Houston's throwing at Arizona to give Arizona a chance at winning the game? And by the other side of that same coin, if Arizona comes out and is dictating the pace early, how can Tommy Lloyd keep that momentum going, right? They were doing great against K-State until that goaltending call came off the board.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the wheels fell off and Tommy and company couldn't get them back on. Now, obviously, you shoot poorly, Tommy's not shooting the ball, whatever, right? But there are still adjustments to be made. And I think, I'm looking forward to Tommy Lloyd's in-game adjustments in this game. Damon, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I know you say we keep using that term, but like it really will be just a good, I think, barometer for where this team is at and how far that they can go, right? Because Houston is a bona fide national title contender. They're one of the best teams in the country. They're very consistent in what they do. So yeah, can Arizona keep that consistency? Because we've seen it in Big 12 play outside of this Kansas State game, right? But prior to that, very, very inconsistent team in non-conference. It's going to be interesting to see how it matches up. And I know that we're going to be locked in, Kevin, because, it's an Arizona basketball game. And it's a big one at that.
Tied in, locked in. And yeah, I mean, obviously we could probably go for hours on this Arizona-Houston matchup. We're probably going to go for more hours tomorrow in the postgame. So I feel like unless you have any more to say on it today, I feel like we covered the bases pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. Keys to the game, half-court offense. Can the big men get involved and take advantage of their height matchups? KJ Lewis, how is he going to be able to limit turnovers and force some of his own? Is that basically it? What else?
Ooh, I do have a fun KJ Lewis fact for you. While we're on the topic, I can't believe I forgot to bring this up. That's my guy.
Hit me.
So KJ Lewis so far has recorded at least 1 block in 6 straight games, and he's had a total of 33 steals this year. And he has offensively scored 15 points in each of the last 2 games, shooting 12 of 22 from the floor.
Stocks.
That's with the right wrist situation as well. So, I mean, not the blocks, but the shots and everything. That's with the right wrist situation as well. So, credit to KJ Lewis. I'm excited to see if he can get at least a block in this upcoming game. And
yeah, we got a block on in the cards.
And yeah, so
does he have a snare block yet? I feel like he would be a snare block guy. I feel like he's just like the perfect, like out of somebody's hands.
I ripped it out of Carter Bryant's hands the other game.
I was going to say I could see Carter Bryant doing it, but yeah, he did do that. I could see Carter Bryant doing it just because it has to be one of the more athletic guys on the roster. You can't not be like a dude who you have to have like a 40-inch vertical to be able to pull that
and some long
off.
arms to snag it, roll it into yourself, and hold it the whole time. Mm-hmm. Didn't Vasar have one?
Yeah, he did actually. I think Vasar did have one like that. ASU. Was it?
Where he just grabbed it. Maybe I was just watching a game.
On JQ? His son?
Age is about right. But, I think we do have one Arizona football note that I really, really, really want to get to. Damon, I guess it's a little crisscross. Arizona football, Arizona basketball, right?
It's just, hey, we've seen it a lot with the Fafita family and with Noah Fafita, them doing the Lord's work and getting out there and just recruiting for this program. Why not add T-Mac to the mix a little bit, Kevin?
Yes. Yeah. So Koa Peat, obviously high value prospect, Arizona trying to bring him to the campus, was photographed after his recent game with none other than T-Mac himself.
Sorry. Look at those hands. Oh my God.
Yeah, they're insane.
Those
they're
things
insane.
are massive.
They're insane.
Mittens?
NFL wide receiver, maybe? I don't know.
Those are going to reel in some
you?
important touchdowns on Sundays for sure.
First wide receiver taken.
Those are some huge hands.
That's insane.
His hands are like twice the size of Koa Peat's hands. And Koa
He
Peat's
must
five-star
be
power
extending
forward.
them because that doesn't make sense. Like they have to be closer to the camera.
You saw him in person, Damon. Did you notice? Like, did you feel? Like, was it Kawhi-esque?
Did his hands wrap around your hand twice when he was shaking your hand?
You're like, no, 3 times.
I can confirm. Yeah, crazy. Be interesting. Why don't we monitor that hand measurement when we get to the combine there for T-Mac? Because
I wish you could bet on hand measurements.
We are sick indeed. We are sick people indeed. Speaking of
Call
betting,
the number.
I did want to say this real quick before we got out of here. We guessed the line, Kevin, on the game, and I'm pretty sure I got it on the absolute dot. -1.5 to Houston.
Really? What's the money
No big
line?
deal.
What's the money line?
Can I guess the total?
Yeah.
That's sicko.
128.5.
Can I guess the total? 136.
Rome?
I'll say 125.5.
125, Rome says.
137.5.
Wow. Kev.
Kevin, bang!
I'm smashing the under.
Money line is Arizona at even odds.
Wow,
Correctly.
damn.
Plus
So-
100.
I hate that. Oh, plus 100. Okay. Even odds, I thought. Never mind.
No, that's even.
Yeah, no. I'm still sick brain. Don't
Houston's
worry about
-120. Arizona at home. I kind of like that.
I love it.
Plus money at Arizona at home with Arizona at home is just, it's hard to ever pass that up. But Houston will be the toughest matchup that we see at McHale Center this year. Will be fun to watch. And yeah, certainly a big one for the Big 12 title race. If Houston wins this one, they will have a 3-game lead in conference. And if they lose, Arizona and Houston will be tied, with Arizona having the tiebreaker. So going to be a massive one when it comes to the end of the season, how this all plays out. And you know that we're going to have you every step of the way here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Real quick before we get out of here, Kevin, opening day for the baseball team today.
Opening day.
Yeah, take on in the Shriner Children's College Showdown. Are they playing Ole Miss?
Yes.
Playing Ole Miss.
Pretty sure it's Ole Miss in that first game.
Rematch from the Tucson Regional from about, I want to say 4 years ago, where Arizona beat Ole Miss and made it to the Super Regional, later making it to the College World Series. So, yeah, gonna be fun. Ole Miss always has a good baseball program, so that'll be a good matchup there.
Like you said, it's at Globe Life Field in Arlington. Fun fact: Chip Hale's first victory as a head coach at Arizona came versus Kansas State at Globe Life Field in 2022. The Wildcats, like you said, went 3-0 in that opening tournament in Arlington. And yeah, I also fun fact. This is just for real quick. No, this is for you two as well. This is for you two as well back there.
I'm just laughing because in the last 5 minutes it's been real quick before we get out of here.
Yeah, you're right.
4 times.
No,
I've
that's true.
counted.
That's true. That's true.
You guys can yap as long as you want. I don't care about the yap fest. It's
These are all real
expectation
quicks.
yap.
These
fest.
are all the RQs.
Were you going to talk about softball?
No. Then we have one more real quick after
before we
this.
get out of here.
I was just gonna ask if anyone here has heard of Flow College. Any takers?
No.
Well, that's how you're gonna have to watch the game. They're only being streamed on Flow College.
Oh, there was an ASU game on Flow College at one point.
So it's a
last
streaming.
year.
It's a streaming.
Yeah.
See, that's not
Yeah.
nearly as cool as what I thought you were going with.
No.
Yeah.
I
I thought it
was just
was
kind
like-
of. I was
I
kind of getting a
don't-
vibe of like. I was like, let's not get these people excited to like go watch Arizona baseball and then be like, where is Arizona baseball?
It's college baseball. They can seek it out if they want to. It's
I'm
not
just
going to
saying
be
they're
on
gonna
like
they're gonna play.
ESPN.
It's gonna be a top 25 matchup in game 2. That's all I'm saying.
I thought Kevin, were you guys? Did you think? I know that you said that you knew what it was. Did you guys think Flow College was like a school? I
Yeah,
thought that was
Flow
like.
College.
I thought it was like
Justin
a
Flow.
I thought it was
Justin
like
Flow
a
University?
cool school name for a second, and Kevin really disappointed me there with his actual answer.
Expectations are like the root of all unhappiness, right? So that's your first problem. Yeah.
I guess that's why I'm so unhappy every time I do this podcast. With you, Kevin.
Expect less. Be happier, baby.
Softball team also 7-1, couple ranked wins, doing good to start this season. We'll have you locked on baseball and softball as well, what they're up to and just kind of what's going on there. Kevin, biggest game of the season tomorrow. We're gonna do a post game for it. Talk to Genesis Smith today. Lots of fun. look to have him back on later at some point. And
Friend of the program.
Yeah, friend of the program, maybe before the season starts. So yeah, it's been a good show. It's been a jam-packed show. Thank you to Shane. Shout out Shane for producing with us and helping us out here for a little impromptu production sesh. Rome, just keeping the vibe checked back there on Shane. Much appreciated as well.
Yeah, Rome's our security, if y'all didn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I am at Damon Dog. It's Damon DAWG on Twitter. This is at Kevo Post, KEVOPOSTS. We are at PHNX_Wildcats. Make sure you guys follow at PHNX_sports as well. Like this video if you haven't already. 13 likes, a little light, Kevin. We need to get that up in the 50 range.
I know I ain't sleeping tonight.
No, you're not sleeping at 13. 50, you might be able to get, 6 hours, 7 hours ahead of tomorrow's matchup? Who knows? But yeah, make sure you like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Shout out everybody in the chat. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for involving in the conversation. And we will catch you next time on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Until then, bear down.
And go Cats.
We all silly like the mayor.